Hello and welcome to the Vine Life Podcast. I'm Tony Clark, your host, and my guest today is a Nashville-based country music singer-songwriter, and his name is Robby Johnson. Robby's got a new single that's called More Than You Think. Now, this heartfelt track honors grandparents worldwide for their essential roles in their grandkids' lives. Robby's music has been featured on Sirius XM's The Highway, Crook and Chase Countdown, Fox's Huckabee, and The Late Show with David Letterman, and many, many other appearances. If you want to find out more about Robby, you can go to his website, and that's robby-johnson.com or robby-johnson.com. I'm never exactly sure how to pronounce that, but you can certainly find him online and find out much more about Robby as well. Robby, thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Thank you so much, Tony, for having me. And also Robby with a Y, R-O-B-B-Y, because sometimes people put I-E and they can't find it. So Robby with a Y -Johnson.com. That's good. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And looking over your bio, you're definitely established in Nashville now, and you made Nashville your home. And tell me a little bit of backstory. What made you decide to make the move to Nashville and put your roots in the Nashville area?
Well, at one point, I was going back and forth to Nashville like many people. There's thousands of artists that do that, every year, more than 2,000. It could be even more. And they just come to Nashville a weekend here and there, do some songwriting, connecting. And at one point at the very beginning of my career, I had the great opportunity to sit down at Sony Music Nashville when it was on Music Row, and sat down with Jim Catino, the big A&R back then of Sony Music Nashville. And he explained to me, he's like, look, Robby, we are not going to invest time or money in every artist that come in town, we want to, invest our time, our resources, help artists that truly believe, in their career. That's what they want to do. It's the plan A. It's not a plan B. It's not, oh, let's try this. No, this is got to be your life. And we're going to help you if you move to Nashville. If that is what you want to do, that's what you need to do. If you don't, then it's just because you just want to try, and we're not going to help someone who just wants to try. Like I said, we help people that really do it. It's a plan A. It's the only option. So that's why we moved to Nashville.
Well, again, you've got a very interesting backstory, and we kind of want to focus on this new single, More Than You Think. And it's an extremely inspiring song, and you've got a really heartfelt message behind the song. And so let's talk a little bit about your backstory. What's the genesis? What's the inspiration for this song, More Than You Think?
All right. So I would say, well, first of all, when I write songs, I just sit down with my guitar and I really try and let it out. Just trust the process and not second guess, and not trying to fabricate something, but just let it out. So oftentimes it's, personal experiences and stories, your backstory, and that's more than you think. That's what it is. Halfway through starting to write, I'm like, oh, this is about, my grandparents, my grandfather Leo, they were great influences in my life. They taught me so much. And so that's the backstory of the song. My father left, I was 5, and he literally abandoned us, started a new life, never told us about it, got remarried and all that. So the bridge is burnt, the bridge is totally burned. And my grandparents, they were amazing. My upbringing was kind of tough, but they would work multiple jobs to send us money, shoes, clothing. We would spend all the Christmases, the holidays at their place. Summer, I would spend, in Hartford, Connecticut, playing around on Putnam Street. And my grandfather, Leo, he was a janitor working for the church and school, because both were tied together. And during summer, we would just play in the gymnasium of the school, have some fun. And at noon, we would just ring the bells. So it was intense, and it was really great, So, and I've learned so much just looking at him. That's what the song's about, is sometimes, you think you're not showing anything to your kids, but actually you are, because they're looking up to you, and that's what this song is about.
Well, again, it really touches at the heartstrings, and whether you intended to convey that message or not, it's certainly conveyed. And folks that are listening to this song more than you think, Robby, what do you want them to? Is there a specific message that you want them to come away with after listening to this song?
Well, just what I was saying is, you got to be careful, when you're around kids, your kids or other kids, or, they're looking up to you. They're paying a lot of attention to what you're doing, because that's how they learn how to act in life. So if you're a bad person, you're not showing something really great to the younger generation. So I guess that's the main thing. That's kind of the message hidden behind the song is, be careful what you do around kids, because they're going to pick up on it.
I didn't catch this in your bio or information about the song, but are your grandparents, are they still around, or have they passed?
No, they passed, and I was present, when they passed both, and it was tough. It was tough.
Well, certainly an homage, a brilliant inspiration for how they affected your life, again, more than you think. Robby, I'd love to hear about folks working together to create music. Certainly listening to this song, there's some professional musicians behind it as well. So producing, you can tell from the production, from the recording. You want to give some props to some of the folks behind the scenes that they typically don't have the spotlight.
Yeah, and I love giving them the spotlight, because to me, a musician is, he's as important as the songwriter, because they come up with those incredible hooks, melodic hooks that the songwriters didn't come up with. It was inspired by the song, but still they do incredible things. And for me, it's Danny Rader. He just finished touring with Kenny Chesney. He's an amazing genius. He comes from a family of musicians. He can play every instrument, He's amazing. And also I have Wes Little on drums. Danny plays pretty much everything: keys, guitars, any kind, B3, everything. He plays everything. And I have Wes Little on drums, who's really insane. He worked with Rihanna. He worked with some of the biggest stars, and so he has a really cool way of playing that I love. He's on a lot of my records, and they're really great. And Danny also produces music. So the way it works is I write songs, and then I sit down with Danny in his studio, and we go over the song, and he will challenge me on the lyrics, on the arrangements and chord progressions, and he will just bring a new flavor, something else to the song. He's going to bring those melodic hooks I was talking about. So he's a co-writer on the song. On many of my songs, he's a co-writer, and some we've written together. For this one, I wrote by myself, and then he just came in and brought it, to where it's at. And I'm so fortunate. I'm really thankful that he's in my corner. He's really, really good. And like you say, I mean, he plays, Danny plays on the Kenny Chesney records, Jason Aldean, John Party, Dierks Bentley. I mean, all the big records he's on. He's the CMA Awards musical director, also for CMA Country Christmas. I mean, the guy's a pretty, very good, very good, has a nice resume. And so production-wise, he brings that to the table, and that's why it has that, Nashville sound quality and everything. And then I track my vocals either at Starstruck or Blackbird, because they have the great Newman 269 broadcast edition, great mics. So it has that crisp, really good quality mic sound to it.
Well, again, just listening to the song and some of your other music as well, from the production to the musicians behind the scenes, these guys have chops, obviously. So I love to hear music, but I'd love to hear music that's well crafted and played well. So these guys and gals possibly or certainly do that behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's one of my tracks that I had a complete track, and I don't know, for some reason I didn't like the arrangement. The lyrics of the song, it's my song, Hell of a Ride. The lyrics of the song are a little dark, mystique, and so the track wasn't doing it for me. So I just booked a studio and brought in Justin. Maybe you've spoke to him before, Justin Ostrander, amazing guitar player. So I just tell him, oh, I like to play this and that, and, on the acoustic, but on the electric, he came up with amazing, amazing things, melodic hooks, a really, really great guitar solo with the intensity. And really, it's you get goosebumps in the studio because, it's so amazing to be there in the studio and witness these moments where they come up with incredible things, epic, riffs. So it's a lot of fun. It's always great to be in a studio with these guys.
Oh, yeah, and it definitely shows. I'm just curious, what were some of your growing up? What were your musical influences? And I'm sure certainly they are still influences today. But what were some of the things that you like to listen to growing up that really crafted or honed your musical taste?
What's funny is that music was always, in the background. It was always there. I would always listen to music, but without realizing the importance it had in my life. So, but I listened to every genre of music and loved it, younger, the Dolly and Kenny and John Denver, Johnny Cash and all that. And also, the pop acts and rock acts, classic rock and all that. I loved everything that, when the lyrics are good and the song moves you, it brings out emotions, it's a good song. So I was listening to all that. But then 90s country came in, and I guess I had a little more life behind me and totally understood and grasped, it talks directly to you about your life stories. And it's also about having a good time without being, high or, a good time in a good way, a family good time, and I really loved it. And that's what, that's how I started, really focusing on country music and wanting to sing country music because of, the lyrics, the storytelling. And like I said, it's genuine, it's authentic, and it's not like, made up boys band that you can fabricate. You cannot fabricate a country artist. It's not going to work.
Well, one of the interesting things, Robby, being able to interview, whether it be a country musician, a rock musician, what have you, speaking to these guys and gals, their past have been influenced by all kinds of music. It doesn't have to, if they're a rock musician, they don't have to only have listened to rock music. They've listened to country music. They've been influenced by classical, by pop.
Yeah.
And that's the fascinating thing that I find.
Example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about that, about how it, and I see as long as it's got, well-crafted music, it's got a great story that takes you to another place. I find that fascinating with folks that are honed in their craft, like yourself. You've been influenced by other things other than country.
Oh, totally. And it's not, you don't consciously grab from it and say, oh, I'm gonna. Well, in today's music, they often do, where they grab the melody of a hit from the 80s and they change the lyrics, they change the melody a little bit, but clearly it's that song that's coming back. But for me, I try to get away from that as much as possible. So I don't consciously grab stuff, but I know that it's there. And sometimes, I listen back to some song, I'm like, oh, okay, I think I that was an influence. So there's influence from. And also, what's funny about me is that if you listen to my albums, I'm not, only traditional country or only pop country or country rock, or I have reggae sounds, I have rock sounds, I have very traditional country, old style Johnny Cash country, traditional contemporary country, 90s country. I have all those sounds because I think about the live show. I want people to have a great experience during the live show. So if it's the same song over and over again, for an hour and a half, 90 minutes, it gets boring. Even if you jump around, it's not going to elevate the energy of the show. So that's why I like to go in all those areas and all those universes and have fun with that, during the live shows. So definitely a lot of influence from rock, even from pop, from so many influences. But it's not made conscious, it's not consciously making those grabs from those influences.
Well, speaking of other different sounding songs, you've got another song out there that's it's a Christmas song, right? It's called "Oh Santa Please." Tell us about that song a little bit.
I really love this song. I have a good feeling about that song. It came to me in my dreams. And it's so funny because I wasn't thinking about writing a Christmas song. I just woke up one morning and it was late. It was like in October, beginning of October, and Christmas songs are usually tracked during summer in July, maybe August, but that's when they track Christmas songs. So I was late. So it wasn't planned. But I wake up with the hook of the verse, you know that I keep singing that. I'm like, wow, that sounds really good. So I start, letting it out. Like I said, I just let it out and come up with this really cool song. I'm really excited. I call Danny Rader, like, hey, I need to track this song. It's so good. I can't wait for you to hear it. So I sit down in the studio and I start singing and start playing the song. And then we figured out, also sat with Clarence J., another buddy of mine who I work with, who's a songwriter, producer, and went over the song. And it felt like I had a huge feeling about this song. So we tracked the song at Danny's studio. And then I come out of the studio with the track, it's not the real drums. It's just a programmed drums and all that. And there's no vocal, there's no background vocals, there's no saxophone. But I listen to the track in the car and I start singing. And in the verse, verses, it works. But when I get to the chorus, the song falls flat. It's like, oh my God, it's not good. It was a totally different chorus back then. And this is not good. It's just an okay song. And it felt like it wasn't meant to be. So I get home and my wife asks me, hey, the Christmas song, you were so excited about it. How's it going? I was like, it's okay. She's like, what? What do you mean it's okay? You were like stoked and excited. Like, so I don't know. It's just okay. And I go to bed upset. I'm like, I had such a great feeling about this song. And I wake up the next morning with the new hook of the chorus, singing the new hook of the chorus. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is the song, And it's because I was fighting to make it about, a guy and a girl, kissing under the mistletoe. And I wanted to make it, I was trying to fabricate it. But all along, the song wanted to be about Santa. That's when I woke up. I was like, oh, the song's about Santa. And I changed the chorus. Then I called Danny again. I'm like, okay, we're going to Starstruck. We're going to, track the drums, cut the drums, get some female background vocalist, a saxophone player. And I got this all figured out. You won't believe it. I get to the studio that Friday and I start singing the new chorus. And he was like, oh my God, this is really good. It was really such a great moment in studio. Sam Levine, he did an amazing, saxophone solo, hair up. I couldn't believe it. After the session, I was sitting down in the studio and I cried. I was so touched by all of this. I felt like it was an amazing experience. The background singers, they were awesome. Wes Little was on drums. He tracked the drums. It was really good. And it just came together. And just because I let it out, I let it be what it was meant to be, not fighting to create it, but just, like I said, sometimes you feel like You didn't write the song, you just found it. It already existed. And what's funny about this one is that a lot of people are like, wow, Robby, that's a great cover. Like, no, it's an original song. And even in the studio, the engineer on the session at Starstruck, we tracked the saxophone and, we were listening back to the song, and he was like, wow, who wrote this song? And Danny goes, oh, it's Robby. He's like, no, you're kidding me. Come on, who wrote this song? He's like, no, it's Robby. And he looks at me as if I'm a god or something. Wow, this is an epic Christmas song. It's like, thank you so much. But I don't know if I wrote it. I just found it, in my dreams. So I didn't. It just happened. So I'm really excited about this one, and every year it's getting more and more traction every year.
Now, Robby, aren't you, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a video coming out for the song?
Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on a concept. Of course, all of that. It's a lot of money. It's an investment. But for this one, I think it's going to be worth it. I keep having people requesting, a music video. There's a lyric video out there that's really nice. But we are working on, I'm working with a couple production companies to get a video out, because it needs to be really quick too. So working on that.
Well, the reason I bring that up, my wife and I, we love Christmas songs, and I think I've heard every Christmas song from country to pop rock. One of our favorite albums we get out every year is an 80s Christmas compilation. It's got everything from, I think, the Go-Go's to the Beastie Boys singing a Christmas song. So we love to hear old, Perry Como, across the board, all of those Christmas songs. So I wanted to bring that up because it's a fascinating song that you've done, and certainly it'll be on our playlist in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And what I love about the song, it starts, smooth, and it just keeps on going and going and going. The energy level keeps going up, and I just love it. I love that feeling.
Well, it's certainly something to be proud of, Robby. So what you got coming up? What's coming up for you? All right, are you still working in the studio? Working on an album? Yeah. What's going on in your career?
Yeah, so I'm releasing a new song every 6 to 8 weeks. So I'll have a new one coming out on November 8th. Road I'm On, country song, and working on some new songs as well. Possibly an album beginning of the year that will have all this previous release and new songs, and maybe some older songs that I will bring back, remaster, and bring back songs that I feel like people they're out, but people didn't notice them because they weren't a single or whatnot. Or so I'm going to be re-releasing probably some music from the past, and also some private events, and looking to get on, performing live, because that's the best feeling. That's the best feeling. Nothing tops, a live show when you're in the moment with the band, with the crowd, looking at each other's, looking in the eyes and like, oh my God, it's happening, and the crowd looks back at you. Yeah, oh my God, this is so good. And, because sometimes you'll be worried about stuff, thinking too much. You're performing, it's good, people enjoy it, but you're not in the moment. For some reason, you're not in the moment. But when it clicks and you're in the moment, nothing compares to it. And it's funny. I even do light checks when I perform. There's the usual sound check, but I do a light check because I want to see everybody's face and be able to connect with them. Because I did a residency in a theater, and the first show, I couldn't see anybody. I had, the big lights coming at me, the follow spot at me, and I couldn't see anything. It was like, whoa, wait a minute. Hey, hold on. I stopped the show. I said, hey, can you bring up the lights? I want to see everybody. And they brought up the lights. I was like, oh my God, you guys are so beautiful, and everybody was excited about that. So after every show, I do a light check. I bring it up just enough so that I can see people's faces and eyes and everything. And I really love it because it helps you connect with the people. I don't want to be out there on stage and pointing at people I don't even see and pretend. That's not me. I can't do that.
Well, I've seen some of your live performances as well, and you're certainly talented and you certainly connect with your audience. So I certainly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Robby, folks are listening. I know that they're listening either via podcast and they're hearing this interview, or they're watching YouTube, X, whatever. They're watching the video. What's the best way if someone wants to order more than you think? They want to purchase this single, they want to look into more of your music and what you do. What's the best way to get in touch?
Well, social media. I would say it's Robby Johnson Music, ROBBY Johnson Music, and in my bio you will find a link to the song. It's a smart link, and it's going to be very easy. You're going to be able to click either on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, whatever digital platform you're using. Even Amazon, you can also order physical copies on Amazon, I guess. So if you want a physical copy. So that's the easiest way to find me and find the music.
Robby, anything you want to add to those listening out there? Did I miss anything? You want to add anything?
I want to say thank you so much to everybody out there, listening, streaming, sharing the music, spreading the word about the music and everything. It makes a huge difference, because I was talking about the live show earlier. We're not the stars of the show, really. We're up there on the stage, but the stars, they make it happen. If you don't have an audience, if you don't have, 80,000 people filling up a stadium, you're not a star, They are the stars. They make it happen. So to the listeners, thank you so much for doing all that. And thank you for, having my music in your background be, the soundtrack of your lives. That's why we do it. So thank you so much.
Well, Robby, very heartfelt words. I'm going to ask you to hang on maybe 30 seconds after we close the interview, but I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on and telling us what you're doing and what you're creating out there. Thank you so much.